Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Welcome back to another divination demonstration. Once again, we are using the Mystic Fairy Tarot deck. It was illustrated by Linda Ravenscroft and written by Barbara Moore. Now, if you will have noticed, in the back of these tarot decks, the little booklets, they usually have several sample tarot spreads for you to play around with. A lot of them are specifically tailored for the deck that you're working with. And the one we're going to be using today is called Two Paths in the Garden. It has 7 cards, and it's laid out like this. The top row represents one choice, and the bottom row represents another choice. And if you or your querent are facing more choices than just 2, just add additional lines and interpret accordingly. So let's dive right in. The first card, it represents what the querent needs to know about where they are right now. And for that, we have the King of Cups. And if you'll recall from previous tarot discussions, court cards, you always want to explore the possibility that it represents a literal person. Perhaps this could be the querent, because I'm not revealing whether the querent is male or female. This could be the querent, in which case it would be someone, possibly a water sign, a man of mature years, someone who has some power, quite possibly the sort of power and natural ability that would enable someone to practice craft. So this could represent one of our brothers, even. It can also represent perhaps an artist or someone who's more into those sorts of fields. But whatever the case may be, the King of Cups also deals with the idea of a caring and compassionate leader. So this is someone who you wouldn't necessarily peg as being the alpha male, but someone who can certainly take on a strong leadership role and be able to function accordingly. As I said, this could represent the querent, or it could represent someone who is closely involved in the querent's affairs, shall we say. At the moment I looked at this card, I thought, there is a man at the bottom of this. And so I believe there is. That is my initial impression. A few other notes about the King of Cups. It's that he is focused on people's happiness as opposed to just efficiency, and would probably be happier being a museum curator than a head of a financial institution. So that gives you kind of a sense of the sort of person it would represent. It has a love for all things beautiful, might have frustrated artistic desires, sometimes distractible from the task at hand. So an artist, a dreamer of sorts, but also someone who is able to manifest those dreams, because I'm not detecting any weakness of character here. So both of these paths are going to revolve around this card. Whatever the situation is, and I did not ask for details, this is at the center of it. So let's look at our top path. Now on the top row, the second card represents the benefits of this particular path, and that is represented by the Four of Swords. I thought that was interesting because when we're talking about benefits, we're not usually looking to the suit of swords, especially if this is indeed, as I suspect, a relationship issue involved. Swords are tied to the element of air, and think about what swords do. They cut through things. They cut to the very heart of the matter. There is something, I don't want to say quite brutal about it, but there is something that is uncompromising about a sword. Things are or they are not. So, Four of Swords, let's read our notes. You are facing a difficult situation and find you don't have the strength to deal with it. For the moment, don't. Take a break, get some rest. Your mind cannot function well if you are worn out. Even though your problem will still be there when you wake up or come back to it, you will be much better equipped to deal with it wisely. And sometimes people do find solutions to problems in their dreams. So right off the bat, we see that this particular path forward is going to require a little bit of problem solving, perhaps some troubleshooting. But there doesn't seem to be an immediate demand to address those issues. So the fact that there isn't a whole lot of pressure coming from this path, I think is a good sign. But let's see what the next card has to say, because the next card on the top row represents the downside of the path, and that is represented by the Eight of Wands. So, Find my place right quick. Here's what the Eight of Wands looks like. And the message of this card is very simple. Events are moving very quickly. You are compelled to act almost without thinking. You must go along with your gut feeling and trust that this is the right choice. Scary, adventurous. So when I'm looking at this in conjunction with the Four of Swords, because the Four of Swords was saying this is the benefit of the path, and it was saying I'm not putting pressure on you. And then here we have the Eight of Swords saying events are moving. This tells me that while there isn't a pressure to make a big decision right away, coming from the other party involved, is that events have taken on a life of their own. They're going to move along at their own pace, and you're going to have to react accordingly if you choose this particular path. Now, the last card in the top row represents the probable outcome of that path, and that is represented by the Two of Wands. Two of Wands is about partnership, as most twos are. It says this partnership is available to you, and it's likely that the possibilities of this partnership are exciting and inspirational. However, it is also likely there's still much that is unknown about the partner or the nature of the partnership. No surprise after that Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands said, you don't have all the information, but too bad. We're jumping off that cliff together anyway. Events depicted by the Wands cards include an element of swiftness. They enter and exit your life quickly. You will need to decide, are you willing to make this commitment, or will you let the opportunity pass by? So, there is a time crunch. I am getting the impression it is not anything that is intentionally being imposed. It's simply the nature of that situation and the nature of that relationship that is very, very obviously represented here. This doesn't say whether or not this would be an ultimately good path for the querent. We might have to compare it with the other path available. We might come to the end of this and realize that the querent needs a third choice. Because I don't know about you, but I can't really get my bearings. I'm just going with everything. I'm going off the cliff. I'm hoping I'll learn how to fly on the way down. And yeah, I mean, exhilarating, terrifying, but we'll just have to see. We've seen the track of this path. Let's look at the bottom path. So the fifth card on the bottom, that again represents the benefits of that path, and it is represented by the Seven of Wands. So here's what the Seven of Wands looks like, and it's about a difference of opinion and no sense of compromise. I think this is the benefit of the path of the second one. You want something that your partner does not. Neither of you can see the other's point of view. Unless one of you backs down, the only resolution is to end the partnership and break your agreement with each other. Sometimes this happens. Make sure what you want is worth the cost. If it is, then stand up for yourself no matter how difficult. If not, then swallow your pride and give in or find a compromise. Well, isn't that a cheerful beginning to this reading? So, contrast this with the first path. The first path says that there's not going to be an imposition of make up your mind. You do not have to deal with this and figure everything out right this second. You can take a moment and you can allow yourself a time to collect your thoughts. That's the benefit of the first path. The benefit of the second path is all about acknowledging that there is a potentially irreconcilable difference, and that you are going to have to make some decisions. Is compromise possible? Is compromise proper? Now, usually when it comes to relationships, we all have a general agreement in society that, you've got to give a little, you got to get a little, you've got to, find some middle ground that both parties are able to live in a reasonably amicable and happy way. So when you start seeing words like no compromise is going to really be possible, and that you can't see each other's point of view, meaning that there's no understanding, both parties are not on the same wavelength with one another, this feels like an ultimatum. And I suppose the fact that it shows up in the benefits illustrates just how much of an ultimatum this really is. It is do or die for path number 2. So card number 6 on the bottom row, the benefits of this particular path, represented by the Wheel of Fortune, because, that's so promising, isn't it? Okay, so this is what the Wheel of Fortune looks like. It says, your answer isn't so much about what is happening to you now, but rather how you face what is happening. See all challenges as opportunities. Look for spiritual lessons as you experience sadness. Remember to express gratitude through your joys. The more you learn to do this, the less traumatically you will be affected by each turning of the wheel. So here's our downside. The wheel is going to turn. This indicates to me that the second path, that they are not going to find a meeting of the minds, and that there is not going to be that plateau of understanding. I don't think this is something to take lightly at all. Major Arcana cards, they carry a lot of weight. They carry the weight over the course of your life, the course of your destiny, if you will. As opposed to pip cards, which can be a little bit more in the short term. Sometimes they refer to long-term issues, but usually it's a little bit shorter term. Court cards, medium term at the very least, and Major Arcana, it's like, yeah, this is what it is. This is what it is, and you've got to accept that landscape. So, bit dreary for path number 2. So let's look at our 7th and final card on the bottom row. It represents the probable outcome of this path. And it is the Six of Pentacles. Okay. There's the Six of Pentacles. Listen to this description. If you are in a position of need, you will find someone to help you. Good that you'll have someone to help you, a little concerning that you'll be in a position of need. This generosity may overwhelm you and at the same time be hard to accept. It can be difficult to accept help, to think of it as charity, as if that is a bad thing. Everyone can use help now and then. If it is there when you need it, accept it gratefully. If you are in a position to help someone else and choose to do so, remember that it is hard to accept help and try to bestow your help in a way that allows the recipient to maintain his or her dignity. Rocky roads ahead if door number 2 is chosen, it would seem. This is a very useful spread, and I'm sure you can see how this can easily clear up the picture for yourself or for a querent of looking at the relative risks of both paths that are ahead of them. If there was a third possibility, I think it would be good to lay out another option, because both of these paths have inherent risks. It looks like there's a considerable more hardship to be faced if they choose path number 2. Whereas with path number 1, there's risk, but there's a kind of joyfulness associated with it. It's more adventurous. It's more about, I want to see what lies beyond that horizon. I want to climb the mountain. I want to ford the stream. I want to know. I want to see. I want to explore, and I want to discover. And if you will recall, each of the cards on the top path, we see 2 figures on it. On the first, we see the 2 fairies. On the second, we see the fairy and the dragon. And then on the third, we see 2 fairies again. Contrast that with the second choice, where we had all that disturbing news. The first card, we have 2 figures, but they are at odds with one another. The second card is alone. The third card is alone, with some slight Snow White vibes with the little forest animals to comfort the fairy that is at the center of it all. Now, if this were to come up in a reading, you of course have to reassure the querent that you are not there to make decisions for them. This is their choice, whatever they choose to make, even if it is door number 2, which, holy cow, that doesn't look like a good path to take. Pretty rocky. I will take the cliff over the rocky road. I think the cliff, if I go splat, it won't hurt as long, and I just might recover faster. Not so much with the rocky road that's going to beat you down. But again, it's not about what the reader thinks the querent should do. It's about conveying information that the querent can choose to act upon and to make their own decision, and to reflect upon that decision. I said at the outset that I was quite sure there was a man at the bottom of this. I suspect it is 2 men, one represented by option 1 and one represented by option 2. That is my intuition on that matter. Another thing to keep in mind is that these represent the most probable outcome if things continue on their course. Now, when you are comparing 2 probable courses, it might initially feel as though you don't have as much influence over that situation. But you can still make choices. You can still make choices that can affect the outcome of either of these paths. For instance, on the second path, there could be a major change, an earthquake shift in one or both parties that could completely alter that outcome. And on the first card, maybe things are just being played a little bit too fast and loose, and that leads to disastrous consequences. Or they could actually decide that they are committed to one another and that they can go forward, make a true go of it, and they can carry on with the adventure that is their life. Both things are possible. I will admit that while I want to emphasize everyone's autonomy to be able to change their own fate, I do get a sense that this is an either-or. This is an ultimatum. If I was getting an intuition that there was a third path available to this person, I would go ahead and lay out 3 cards just to compare them, but that's not the sense I'm getting. For better or for worse, that just is not the sense that I'm getting. I think these are the forks in the road, and you've got to take one and leave the other one behind, and let that former possibility go. I don't know any other details about the situation. I was given very, very little to work on. I would just say be careful and know yourself. Be honest with yourself. Do some meditation. Maybe you are being called to that adventure. Even if that adventure ends up going badly, maybe that is something that is needing to happen to keep you from path number 2. Or conversely, path number 2, maybe this is a test of your character. Maybe this is an aspect of your character that you have failed in at the past, and it's time for you to gain some further maturity, to buckle down and to do what needs to be done, and to become more flexible, to not be quite so dogmatic and rigid in your views. Maybe the issue isn't the other person not budging. Maybe it's you. When in doubt, look in the mirror, and you can usually find who's at fault for your circumstances, or at least who played a very large role in it. So, interesting reading. I hope this has been of interest to seeing how a reading like this can go. On Blackbird's Brew, it has been suggested that every so often we hold a practice tarot session. I'm going to be bringing that up at the next group voice chat that'll be happening this evening. So if you would like to join in and you would like to talk tarot or talk about our topic, which is autumn preparation, both mundane and magical, please come in. We'd love to have you. It's always interesting to hear new voices, new perspectives, and if you would like to be amongst those who make a practice tarot night session happen, please let me know. I think that's it for now. I'll see you in another video. Bye.